Welcome. Today, we're diving into the Feedback Manager feature from Baypoint AI, designed specifically for eBay sellers. You can find the Feedback Manager right on the main feedback dashboard screen. Let's go ahead and click on the Feedback Manager tile to explore all the valuable insights it offers. In the header, we have how many feedback we have for the past 90 days, how many need response, how many have a positive feedback, and down below, we see the detail. So basically what this does is it looks at the feedback that we received as a seller on eBay and gives us the opportunity to respond. What's interesting about this software is that it will create the response taking into account all the information that the order has. So it knows who the buyer is. It also knows the product they bought, when they bought it, what they left as feedback. And let's open that right now. So we're going to the first one that needs a reply. It shows us the item that was purchased by the buyer, and it shows us what the order ID is, the item ID, the feedback date, shipping date, delivery date, all the information that we might need when we're creating a response to their feedback. Also, it shows us the original feedback, which is what the feedback was that the buyer has left us. In this example, we see that it says, I just got the CDP, which is the CD player. I have not had a chance to set it up yet, but it arrived on time and in very good condition. So far, everything looks good. I will try to update this in a few weeks. So, first of all, what that tells me is that we have a reminder for the buyer to leave feedback for us, and we can adjust how many days after the order arrives that we are going to request the feedback. This says to me that we may be asking for the feedback a little too early. I think I have it set as a default of 7 days, so I'm going to change that to 14 days after they receive the product. That gives them time to set it up and time to try it out to make sure everything is working properly for them. So below that, we have our response. This is how we're going to respond to the buyer in the eBay system, and we will show the feedback that buyer leaves us and also our response. So what we're going to do first is generate a new feedback response, and it will take into account the fact that they left feedback. It responds and uses the terms that they've used in their feedback they left. So it's obvious to the buyer that we are referencing what they've written. It's not just the canned response or something that we haven't considered. And creating this feedback response, for us, it says generate AI response. And this is what it came up with from the AI system that we have on the Baypoint AI Feedback Manager dashboard. Says your feedback is appreciated. It's great to know that the CDP arrived promptly and in excellent condition. So this paraphrasing what the buyer had written. It says, take your time in setting it up. So it's obvious that we're responding directly to what they've written. And if any questions come up, feel free to reach out. What this is doing is it's establishing a rapport with the buyer and to let them know that we actually appreciate their feedback and that we appreciate that they took the time to leave it. And if we don't like that one for some reason, we can clear this and actually generate a new one. So this one says, we appreciate your sharing your experience. It's encouraging to know the CDP arrived promptly and in excellent condition. Take your time setting it up. Any questions you or if need assistance, feel free to reach out. We look forward to hearing how everything goes, always revolving around what the buyer has written to us. Why do we want to respond to the feedback? Well, there are 3 reasons. The first is, well, we're showing appreciation to the buyer of the product, and that solidifies our relationship with the buyer. We also are leaving our response because other buyers who are looking at our products and say, oh, I want to check out the feedback that this company has received. And they actually will go and read the feedback, but then they'll see our response. And that gives them more encouragement and more confidence in purchasing from us. The third reason is eBay does monitor this feedback. Now, feedback responses doesn't directly create sales for us, but indirectly. eBay sees that we're engaged with our customer. We take the time to treat them well. We take the time to respond to them. So eBay is saying, well, we're going to have less returns for this seller. We're going to have less complaints. We're going to make sure that we have buyer satisfaction, which eBay is all about. Now let's go on to the next one. We received a negative feedback, and we are trying to figure out why. So we say, all right, they left the feedback, but there's something not right here. The buyer says, the seller tried to steal from me. They should be avoided at all cost and should be kicked off eBay unless I get a hefty refund. Well, that's unfortunate. Baypoint AI and Feedback Manager software lets us do is identify any policy violations for eBay terms of service. This directly, policies in 2 different ways. And let's see what the AI Feedback Manager came up with. What we're going to do is we see that this will automatically get detected, and we have a button here where it says View Details and Request Removal. So let's open that, and we see that all right. We have a confidence of 90% that this was a violation. And it will tell us what the original feedback was from the buyer, who the buyer was, what date they left it, and what type of feedback it was, either positive, negative, or neutral. We're going to see exactly what violations have occurred. So the AI evaluates the feedback and it knows all the terms of service for eBay. It's going to compare that to what was left by the buyer. The AI will tell us the feedback contains harmful content, as it includes personal attacks on the seller's reputation by accusing them of theft. Additionally, the feedback suggests extortion by implying that the seller should be removed from eBay unless a hefty refund is provided. Well, that's not good. So we're going to create a removal request. The AI also creates this for us. It evaluates the feedback from the buyer. It will also create the removal request for us, and it states the facts. And that's exactly what we need to do when we request feedback removal. So this identifies the date that the feedback received, the order number, and why we're requesting it due to eBay policy violations. Then it goes on to say what the feedback text was that the buyer left. And then next, it explains what policies have been violated. The feedback contains harmful content, as it includes personal attack on the seller's reputation, and then also it talks about the extortion. Then we summarize it and say this feedback appears to violate eBay's feedback policy as it contains prohibited content. Now we have a confidence level of 90%. That is, we're 90% sure that this violated eBay's feedback policies. So then we make our request. I respectfully request that eBay review the feedback for policy compliance and consider removal if found to be in violation. Now we copy this to the clipboard, and we're preparing to submit this request for feedback removal to eBay. Unfortunately, eBay doesn't have an automated system that allows us to submit this feedback directly to eBay, but we have it copied to the clipboard. So what we'll have to do is go to the Seller Hub, go to Performance, go to Feedback in our Seller Hub on eBay, and then find the feedback that we're responding to and request removal. We select the violation category. In this case, there are two. So we'll just pick the most egregious. And we paste the text that we just copied to the clipboard, and then we submit it to eBay. eBay manually reviews all the feedback requests, but I suspect that they use AI to evaluate the feedback request. It makes it clear in no uncertain terms that, yes, we are requesting the feedback removal. This is what we received. This is why, and this is the action we'd like to take that, like eBay to take. So it's all in one. We don't have to write a thing. We keep emotion out of it. We don't add any extraneous information. We just keep it short and sweet, cut to the chase. And hopefully, if eBay is amenable to removing the feedback for us, which isn't always guaranteed, but zero feedback gets removed if we don't request it, right? So we want to make sure that we request every time we detect something like this, so that gets us to that negative feedback. Now, let's go to the next one, which is a nicer feedback. Again, it's another CD player, and the buyer says the product was well packaged. I've had several of these units, and unfortunately they are discontinued. I haven't finished loading the CDs and do not know if the system works well. Thank you. So that's another reason I think I need to slow down on the feedback request because, again, it looks like it's premature. Granted, it is more involved to set up these CD players, so that could have something to do with it. So we have to take that into account. We're going to generate an AI response to this feedback that the buyer left. And here, it says your observation about the packaging is appreciated. It's great to hear you've received your item in good condition. Discontinued products can be challenging to find, which is true, and I understand the anticipation of getting set up. And then once you get it set up, let us know. We'd love to hear their thoughts on this performance, and then invite them to contact us if they have any questions or concerns. And again, this invites good relations with the buyer. We want to make sure that they know that we care about them. The other thing we do is to try to use as many characters as possible in the response. Here, we've got 451 characters out of the 500 allowed. It doesn't hurt to add more. They can stop reading what they want, but we want to make sure that we express ourselves, thanking them for the purchase, respond to what they've written, and also invite them to come back and buy from us again. So when we're ready, we're going to click on Submit to eBay. That will automatically take the feedback response that we've created through our AI response generator and post this directly. This time, we can post directly to eBay, so we don't have to cut and paste here. We just click on Submit to eBay. It will connect to the eBay system and apply this feedback response. Another thing that we can do is add or edit this feedback. So we get the AI-generated response, but we might want to say something else like, we look forward to serving you again. So we can type that in and then let's save it. Let's not post it just yet. So we save this draft and it tells us the draft was saved, and it changes the status to draft. We can go on to another feedback and then come back to this one, and that draft is still there. So it saves whatever you add and the AI-generated response. So you can leave and then come back and continue with your work to respond to this feedback. Another feature of this is Riley Sentiment Summary. So what Riley does, by the way, is our AI specialist. All the Baypoint AI apps have access to Riley. Riley says you received a total of 12 feedback, which we know that in the past 90 days. And it says, showcasing a strong sentiment with 10 positive, 1 negative, and 1 neutral, resulting in positive percentage of 90 point. Many buyers appreciate your timely deliveries and quality of the products, and several comments highlight great communication and prompts resolution of issues. So it's actually giving us advice once it takes into account all the feedback that we've received in the past 90 days. It will create a summary for us. So we get the general feel of the feedback that we're receiving. And that's without going through each feedback and trying to figure out what the sentiment is. In a summarized view, we can also have Riley read this to us while we're working on something else. And we can kind of get a feel while we're working on something else. But the interesting thing is that this is updated as we receive new feedback. So it's always changing and responding to exactly what feedback we are receiving. And if we want to make sure we have updated, we can click on the refresh button. It will go back and reread the feedback that we've received and create a new text for us. But normally, we don't have to do that. It's done for us behind the scenes. That basically explains the whole feedback manager from Baypoint AI.